Hey guys, it's Nscaler454 and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to build the Walthers N-Scale Water Street Freight Terminal. Looks like a pretty good little kit. So I've actually already started it and I'll show you what I've gotten done. So as you can see, I've already painted the sides of the structure. For this concrete color here I used Aged Concrete Flat by Model Master. And then for the mortar I used Aged White Flat, and all I did was just brush it on with the paintbrush, and then I wiped it off with a damp chunk of old t-shirt, and the process looked pretty good. You have to be pretty gentle on it. If you can't get into the cracks or whatever, you can take like a sharp edge, and I just use like a file here and it scrapes off pretty well. So I still have to do the back sides of it, but you can see what the old color was here versus how it looks now. So a bit of a difference. So you can be pretty generous when you're painting on the white, because all you're doing is getting it to go into the cracks and then you're going to wipe it off. So now that this one's going to be slightly dry, what I do is take my t-shirt chunk or whatever, right, and then wipe it off. Be pretty gentle when you do this, and you're going to go over it a couple times, because you'll notice that if you go over it too hard the first time, you will take out the paint in the cracks. You don't want to do that. So there you can kind of see how it looks. So a pretty simple process. It's a bit time consuming, but it does seem to work. For the base of the structure, I think I'm going to go and paint it with, again, the Model Master's Aged Concrete Flat. That should match this concrete color here I have on the sides of the structure. You can see I used a paintbrush here to go over it a bit, but I think I'm going to do this with an airbrush. I think it'll give it a better and even look, and might be a little quicker to do anyway. So I'll do that, and then I can go ahead and start putting the structure together. For the roof, I'm going to use Model Master Grimy Black Flat. I'm also considering the Engine Black Flat from Model Master. I'm not really sure, but I think I'm going to use the same technique as I did with the brick and mortar, where I'm just going to splatter on a pretty thick coat of it and then wipe it off with a cloth. So we'll see how this turns out. So far I'm not liking the grimy black. I think it's given me the color that I want. So which means I think I'm gonna go with the Engine Black Flat instead. I'm just gonna dip it in there and go. There we go, right on top of it. Gotta be pretty quick. I almost think I should have watered this down a little bit. So paper towel and wipe it down. So obviously the original plastic, and this one is the painted one. It looks a little streaky, but it's hard to tell. Now what I'm going to do is just try this one. We'll use a little water on the second go around. So I did a whole bunch of painting. I got the bases painted in the concrete. Again, that was Model Master's Aged Concrete Flat. I painted the wooden decks here, and I just used the Tamiya's, what is this, Dark Yellow 2, right? And I think it turned out okay. You gotta be pretty quick with painting this color because it dries quite quickly. And now I'm going to weather this a little bit with some Vallejo, what is this, Model Wash Black. So I've already kind of done a test piece. I don't know if you can see that okay, but there's a bit of a difference, and it brings out a bit of a shine, which I like. Putting these to the side. A lot of this stuff I kept on the sprues just to make it easier to paint. The trussets I painted a flat black, right? And I just used Rust-Oleum flat black here. Anything I'm going to do in like mass colors, I'll buy these big cans. It'll be a little bit cheaper that way. The windows and doors come pre-molded in a green plastic, and I'm not a big fan of it. It looks very plasticky. So what I did was I took some of this dark yellow too and just kind of brushed it over with my finger and wiped it down, trying to give it a bit of a look that the paint has fallen off and some wood's coming through, just to make it look a little aged. I don't know how well it looks from here, but we'll throw it in some of the structures. I may put some weathering powder on this just to try to, I don't know, dull down that plastic look a little bit more. The finished result of the roofs, I think it turned out okay. I'm not convinced that just painting this a whole flat black wouldn't be a better option. It does have some different textures, which I like and dislike at the same time, but I think the more tar surface here looks a little bit nicer. But anyways, we're just going to run with it. Finally, I painted the metal doors this Tamiya bare metal silver. This is a nice little product, but the cans are quite expensive. Now that I've completed most of the painting, I can remove the parts from the sprue. I do that with my Klein diagonal cutters. These ones are good up to 16 gauge, which is good for me because I sometimes do wiring, and that is, you know, it's not going to bend and wreck my cutters on, you know, thicker gauge wire. From here, I can now go ahead and start some of my weathering before I do the actual assembly. When doing the wash to accent some of the crevices and whatnot, be pretty generous with it. You just goop it on and wipe it off later. I think if I was to do it again, I would have laid a base black color or something to get into the cracks, and then painted over it with that yellow or dark yellow number 2 or whatever it is, just to highlight the cracks between the boards a little bit better. Because even though this works to some degree, it mostly wipes up what you take off or what you put on. So I've completed most of the weathering in bulk form. So for the green windows and doors, what I did is use a little of that black wash, and then I used the Vallejo Desert Dust dry powder and just went over it, and it definitely dulled down the green, and I think it looks all right. The wooden planks have been, that wash is complete. I think it turned out okay. It definitely gives it a little bit more character, that's for sure, and a little bit of a shine, which I was looking for. The black trusses that were flat black, I used a little bit of the, which one is it? Vallejo Old Rust, and that again, it just dulls it down just a little bit, enough to kind of take that newness out of it, which is good. I used that same dry rub, but I put it on with a wet rag. I don't know what happened to it. Anyways, I just used a damp paper towel and I rubbed it onto the metal doors, and so it'd stick a little bit to the edges, and it definitely made a good effect. I'm sure you guys can probably not see that at all, but well, whatever. Anyways, again, it's all about these subtle details that go a long way, so I'm happy with the way that turned out. But now that that is done, I can go ahead and put all these little windows and all the panels, and then put the glass onto it, and then I can actually assemble it. So to put the structure together, I think I'm going to start with the ends of the walls. I'll put these up first, and then I'll put the sides up, and then this middle structure piece here, and then I'll put the roof on. An interesting point about the second structure, you can't just put the roof on, you have to actually have the walls open up and then slide it in. Something they don't really tell you in the instructions. Well, maybe they do, I just didn't read them. Like that. And then we can slide you in. Aha! Like that. Well, I have the buildings pretty much wrapped up. There's just a couple little pieces that still need to go on and some touch-up paint, but you can see what it looks like for the most part. I think it turned out, yeah, pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Give you kind of a look. I like the way the wood turned out. I'm happy with that part. So, yeah, I think this is a good kit to build. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe it even helped you guys out a little bit. You can of course check the description for, you know, some of the paints that I used. And yeah, I just got to put the last final details on and then I'll show you the final product.